Good morning. In the present times, the buzzword is of hygiene, COVID hygiene, cyber hygiene. In the background of COVID-19, there has been a total restructuring of the systems we live in, our educational systems. The way we work, the way we live, has all gone to the digital platform. It's in this background that Cocoon has come out with its 13th edition, 2020, on a totally virtual platform. Now, many of you will think it's a climb down from the usual grand conferences that we hold. But we need to understand that this conference in the virtual platform has various advantages that makes it truly global. The reach of this conference, apart from being seen by all the delegates attending this conference, is being beamed live on all our social media handles to 4 million people around the globe, which makes it one of the biggest conferences in the history of Cocoon. So this conference is basically a matter of history for us and for you all. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all our friends to this Cocoon 2020. 2020 has been a very different year for all of us. One cyber expert has remarked that 2020 has a virus and we need to reboot it. It's a very important year, a very different year for all of us. Coming back to 2020, in the post-COVID arena, when the dependence on digital resources have increased, we have vulnerabilities developing in cyberspace. We have cyber criminals trying to sell the Statue of Unity. We have people trying to redirect donations to the PM Cares Fund. There has been policy efforts to flatten this cybercrime curve, but it has yielded no results. Security flaws in video conferencing apps like Zoom, etc. has highlighted the importance of cybersecurity, not only in our offices, but in our homes also. Now, cyber criminals operating on the confusion and fear created by COVID have really indulged in a lot of cyber crimes, which has become a challenge not only to individuals, to enterprises, but to law enforcement officers like us also. Riding on the fear and confusion created by COVID, we had cyber criminals coming in with fake websites, stealing data. We had a lot of bank frauds coming in. We had a lot of crimes against women and children, which really affected the society in a very adverse manner. We even had rogue states coming in and attacking the national digital resources, trying to destabilize different countries. We also had attack on healthcare, particularly in the wake when the health department was facing the COVID patients. But all this proved that all our sectors, all our digital resources are under attack. The new ransomware attacks have increased not only in complexity, but also in its nature also. Ransomware was earlier limited to enterprises, but now we have attacks in the homes also. And it has become so complex that even the online backups these cyber criminals are trying to encrypt. It's very clear that cyber crimes is getting more technical, more complex, and the gravity of the crime is manifold increase. We can easily conclude that the complexity and the intensity of cyber crimes has gone up drastically in the last 6 months. Now the question arises, how do we deal with this situation? Are we ready to adapt to this new situation, new challenges? Firstly, we need to secure ourselves. The individual, the enterprise, the government entity, all three need to secure themselves using the various forums, use the various systems available. Secondly, we need to develop a resilience if we are attacked, whether we are ready to bounce back, whether we have the system in place where we can actually counter that attack, whether we can be resilient to that attack and come back bouncing the same way. The third is, of course, whether the law enforcement agency in that particular country has the resources to detect such crimes. Because many a place, we know this crime is a crime without borders, and it's very difficult for a law enforcement agency or the police department to actually crack into these crimes. So we need to put up systems in place where we can actually have the cooperation of different agencies to crack and detect such crimes. In this context, we need to remember another important fact, the factor of costing. Because in the COVID arena and the post-COVID world, we will find that costs are going to be cut not only in the private enterprise, but also in the government. Among all these confusion, there is an opportunity also for all of us. We actually need to pick up a robust cyber system, not only in the government, in the private sector also, which will face and equip us to meet the challenges of the future. Even when COVID becomes a dream, these systems will remain, which will help us in the future digital world. Now, many of you may be wondering that I am painting a very dismal picture of the present climate. What is the most important thing is to remain optimistic. Because what COVID-19 has shown us is the importance of coordination and cooperation. In the present times, the government agencies, the private sector, and the security experts have come together to meet the challenges of the future. And that's why this conference of Cocoon is so very relevant. Cocoon offers a platform where the various stakeholders in cybersecurity come together and we dwell on plans and policies about the cyber world. This year also, we are sure that this conference will ensure that different minds come together, sit together, they look at the various threats that are there in the world right now, and we find out policies and solutions to meet these threats and challenges. I call upon every person attending this conference to actively participate, to look at the threat landscape, and to come out with policies and steps which we can utilize to secure our systems well. That's why this conference becomes so relevant in the present times. Finally, on behalf of the organizing committee of Cocoon, I want to warmly welcome all our friends, distinguished guests, and delegates to this 13th edition of Cocoon, the International Hacking and Security Conference 2020. Thank you, and have a great conference. Next, I have great pleasure in introducing to you the person who is the brain behind this conference for the past 5 years. Loknath Behra, the State Police Chief and the Director General of Police, who is the person who has spearheaded the police force also into the digital domain. He is the person responsible to adapt technology so much into policing for better service delivery. It's my great pleasure to invite Sri Loknath Behra to deliver the inaugural address.
Cocoon 2020. This being the 13th edition of Cocoon, the Data Privacy and Hacking Conference hosted by Kerala Police year after year, has its own uniqueness in the fact that it is being hosted online for the first time, considering the pandemic situation prevailing all over the world, and also in keeping with the principle that being virtual is the new normal. I am pleased to learn that around 5,000 delegates are attending this conference this time from all over the world, and it is being beamed on the social media to more than 2 million people. The 13th edition of the International Hacking and Security Conference, jointly organized by the Kerala Police, POLCYB, Society for Policing of Cyberspace, and ISRA, the Information Security Research Association is being organized in the backdrop of changing times and practices affecting the human beings all over the world. We have a distinguished panel of speakers who will be speaking in this conference. His Excellency HRH Prince Michael D. Yugoslavy, the grandson of King Umberto of Italy and Prince Paul of Yugoslavia, Monaco. Sri Chris Gopalakrishnan, Chairman, Auxiliar Ventures, the co-founder of Infosys. Sri Shibulal, again philanthropist and co-founder of Infosys. Dr. Faider Yarokchikin, senior researcher, forward-looking threat research, Trend Micro. Ricardo Ten Kate, CTO, Gyrocopter. Ryan Sersotobitov, senior analyst, McAfee, Advanced Threat Research. Mr. Sunil Varki, MD and Global Head of Cybersecurity Assessments and Testing, HSBC. Mr. Amit Dubey, Chief Security Architect, Tech Mahindra. Mr. William Egerton, Chief Cyber Officer, Astara Company Limited, United Kingdom. His Excellency Sultan Al Oaisi, Corporate Digital Services Director, Prime Minister's Office, United Arab Emirates. Chloe Mesdaghi, Vice President, Strategy Point 3 Security. Mr. James George, Security Consultant, Deloitte, Singapore. Mr. Srihari Haridas, Operator, Red Team Village. Mr. George Orchelis, Chief Technology Officer, Scythe. Mr. Dan Levy, Senior Manager, Ernst & Young, Israel Advanced Security Center. Mr. Jamil Nabo, Principal Offensive Security Consultant, Capgemini. Mr. Rohit Sehgal, Cyber Security Engineer, Visa. Mr. Adam Laurie, Global Security Associate Partner and Lead Hardware Hacker, IBM X-Force Red. Mr. Philip Wiley, Senior Red Team Lead. Mr. Pierre Francois Millard. This year's conference is to be unique because we will be discussing about a new IT order, new to information technology order in the world during the ongoing pandemic and post-pandemic situation. With a galaxy of star speakers who are prominent experts, IT practitioners, etc., new ideas will emerge which will benefit the people of the world. Our consistent effort is to make the cyberspace safe and secure. Cocoon over the years has delivered in this direction. It will, I am sure and confident, deliver this time. Now let us go to Cocoon. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for that very insightful speech. Now we are going into a very interesting phase. It's now time for our keynote speakers. Let me introduce you to them.
My warm greetings to all guests and delegates who are now online to participate in this virtual Cocoon conference. I am very happy to inaugurate the 13th edition of Cocoon, convened as a data privacy and hacking conference and hosted by Kerala Police in association with Society for Policing of Cyberspace and Information Security Research Association. For more than a decade, Cocoon has been a trusted name in the world of data and cyber security. This time it is being hosted online in tune with the present day reality, where the COVID-19 pandemic has convinced us that being virtual is the new normal. I am glad to learn that around 5,000 delegates are attending this conference from all over the world and that it is being beamed on the social media handles so as to reach more than 2 million people. The 13th edition of this International Hacking and Security Conference is being organized in the backdrop of the changing times and novel practices in human lifestyle. The way we work, live, and carry out business has changed, and the changes remind us that the world is not going to be the same in the post-COVID era. At the same time, the new normal has also opened up a world of opportunities, overhauled existing systems, re-engineered our business policies, and changed the basic models of policing, mostly with the help of digital technologies. Sometimes opportunities come in the form of adversities like unprecedented threats, attacks, and crimes in the digital world. We are aware that while the right-thinking people silently endured the impact of the lockdown, there were many others who were busy hacking into the systems, stealing data and money, harassing victims, children and women, and trying to destabilize our digital systems. I am happy that Kerala Police continues to be in the forefront of the battle against these disruptive forces in the cyberspace by connecting pioneers from all the domains in the IT industry and integrating of technology for the betterment of society. I feel that Cocoon 13 is an ideal platform to harness the collective efforts of all stakeholders in cyberspace by highlighting the importance of 5 Ps in cybersecurity. That is, political leadership, press, police, and public and private sector. The synergy among these groups will certainly help to make our cyberspace more secure and safe. I understand that this conference would have around 60 sessions on 4 major security domains and other attractions like robotics village, hardware and software exhibition. This initiative points to the unwavering commitment of Kerala Police to effectively target the emerging challenges and to ensure a truly secure digital world. I hope the various sessions would enrich the knowledge of the participants and make them more equipped and more effectively placed to deal with the technological challenges of today. It is through such enhancement of capabilities that Kerala Police would march ahead, polite but firm, not only on the ground but also on cyberspace. I appreciate Shri Loknath Behera, Director General of Police, and other officers who have conceived and organized the conference. My best wishes for the success of Cocoon 13 2020. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear organizers, it is a great pleasure for me to be able to participate in this virtual conference, which is about security and hacking. I would have been very happy to visit your great country, and I hope I will be able to do that soon and meet with you personally, and that you can show me around. I would like to thank Mr. Loknath Behera, Director General of Police, Mr. Manu Abraham, Additional Director General of Police, the Chief Minister of Kerala State, the conglomerate of government and the industry, led by ISRA, and the Society for Policing of Cyberspace, supported by Kerala Police. Thank you very much. I am Prince Michel of Yugoslavia. I am the grandson of the last King of Italy, King Umberto II. My other grandfather was Prince Paul of Yugoslavia, the last regent of the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. I was born in France, near Paris, and have been blessed with many travels. I lived in France, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in Italy, in Switzerland, in the United States, in Mexico, and in Brazil. And I have traveled in many countries, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in Middle East, and in South America. As you can see, the only one that I haven't visited is your country. Although I am not an expert on security and hacking, I can tell you that because of my background, most of my family members who were kings and queens of countries were in the habit to use the services of their respective security agencies. One anecdote was that my grandfather, Prince Paul, the last regent of Yugoslavia, would use intelligence to understand what was going on in the country. But he did not use intelligence against the British embassy, since he considered Britain as friends and ally. Unfortunately for him, it was the British embassy that organized a coup against him to have a change in policy. And had he put the embassy under surveillance, he would have known what they were plotting, but he didn't. This is to show you the importance of intelligence with everyone, no matter what you think will happen or not. my great uncle, King Alexander of Yugoslavia, was warned not to go on an official visit to France in 1934, and also to wear his bulletproof vest. He brushed aside those demands, saying that France was a friendly country and he felt at home there. Sadly, he was assassinated a few hours after his arrival in Marseille, in the south of France. As I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm a user of technology, like many of us here. And although I am from the older generation, which saw the arrival of the computers, I have some knowledge. Not as much as our children, to whom everything looks so easy. As a background, let me tell you that I have been in business for the last 40 years, where I helped my office double its assets under management to over $3 billion. I then moved to Switzerland, where I developed the services of a global business intelligence company, formed by former members of various security services. This is where I got some understanding about intelligence deeper. The world we live in right now is smaller and smaller, and it is full of obstacles. Before COVID-19, it was very easy to travel, and we almost did that too much. We used to take airplanes like some people take a bicycle or a taxi for meetings that were not always justified. Now, thanks to COVID-19, we have been discovering the ease of video conferencing, like now, through cell phones and computers. We have been doing too much digitalization with all the risks that come with it. The good things before were that when you traveled, it was so that you could see people. There was a reason to meet with them. You could engage in personal relation. You could understand the person you were meeting. You could assess their character. You could visit their factories. You could visit their offices. Now, with those digital meetings online, you don't read so well the people across from you, and you can be fooled by them. That increases the risk of being robbed. With the multiple use of emails, messaging, electronic communication, the sending of documents electronically and so on, the risk increases, and it is a paradise for hackers. There are no more secrets since everything is digital. Before, when you traveled, you were prepared, you were organized, and you knew what to look for. Now, in this electronic age, everything is different. I can give you some examples of hacking where you are with your client online, sending emails, and suddenly you get an email which you think is from them, in which they give you a new banking account. This is a red flag. It should raise your attention. But because it is in the flow of the email conversation, you might believe it is for real. And then you will send money to this new account, and many chances are it will be lost, unless you react immediately. Digitalization might save a lot of kerosene up in the air. Time for yourselves, or even rediscovering your own country because of travel prohibitions. However, even before COVID, hacking both from private and public institutions was the new frontier sport. You will all agree that this has not been decreasing. Instead, it has boomed up. Getting into competitors' mobile phone, agenda, emails, messaging service, even the one who sells you end-to-end encryption, is more and more widespread. Not to speak about the use of these capacities by states' services. In the meantime, the travel bans and mandatory on-paper quarantines have increased the need of fake documents, authorizations, corruption, logistical services, and so on, without any formal control. The world has become more insecure than it was before COVID and created more discrepancies between the rules and their applications. Example, the massive need of PPE or personal protective equipment goods have also seen the global markets trying to adapt in emergency mode to these new digital standards. Buying goods in Asia to sell them in Latin America, using companies based in Hong Kong, Singapore, the United States, Luxembourg or Switzerland, and banks in France, in the UK, in the US, have opened the doors to massive fraud in all and every bit of the business chain. Canada, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, just to name some of them, have been tricked with fake PPE deliveries, which are face masks, gloves, gowns or gels. Many companies all over the world have completed massive investments to start PPE production lines and having the trusted partners in countries like China, Brazil or Canada, not even to guarantee to speak to the right persons. And this does not happen only in China. Some of our partners found that their thermometers manufacturer in Canada was a PO box in an abandoned warehouse in Ontario. You must be careful. Payment conditions are monetized at every stage. Fake LOIs, letters of intent, are sent without any verification because of the emergency and the greed. Fabricated proof of fund letters, POFs, and bank comfort letters, sometimes very sophisticated, are used to secure stocks and productions without paying a cent, and especially without the possibility to have any clue of the end buyer. Let me tell you an example. Last week, a partner of mine received a POF to check for an operation involving billions of face masks. The bank letter, very professionally done, showed the name of the account holder as Jeff Bezos and the available liquidity over $50 billion. But we've seen even funnier ones. One of our clients was dealing with a very reputable company in the US, and they received an LOI, a bank letter, and when they looked at it, everything was fake. The bank they were using did not exist, and the country in which this bank was did not exist either. In this case, they were very lucky because the documents looked perfect, but because the hackers made such a ridiculous presentation where everything was fake, it was easy to spot. But sometimes it is not. Sometimes it is very well done. Most of the time, the chain of brokers, the urgency and the intercultural attitude is benefiting more to the fraudsters and hackers than to the real business of PPE supplying. However, it is the open door to grab emails, phone numbers, do social engineering for hacking, money laundering, fraud, or even political purposes. Anything but selling or buying PPE. And this is growing as all threats are growing in emergency periods. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you again for listening to me, and I wish you a very happy and productive conference.
Honorable Governor Sri Arif Muhammad Khan, State Police Chief and Director General of Police Sri Loknath Behra IPS, Additional Director General of Police Sri Manoj Abraham IPS, His Royal Highness Michel de Yugoslavia, distinguished speakers and delegates. It is indeed my privilege that I have been asked to deliver the vote of thanks for the inaugural ceremony of Cocoon, the International Cybersecurity, Hacking and Virtual Conference. On behalf of ISRA and Cocoon Organizing Committee, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Honorable Governor Sri Arif Muhammad Khan for his kind presence and the very inspiring inaugural address, which underlines the importance that has to be maintained with all the stakeholders from the cyberspace to deal with the cyber criminals. As you all know, our pillar of strength has been the constant support and encouragement given by none other than the State Police Chief Sri Loknath Behra IPS. Being the conference chairman, he is the one who always come up with very new ideas, new concepts to run this Cocoon conference every year so differently. I sincerely thank Sri Loknath Behra for his esteemed presence at this inaugural function and also guiding us through all the aspects of this Cocoon 2020 conference. I would like to thank the Additional Director General of Police and the Vice Chairman of Cocoon, Sri Manoj Abraham IPS. The evolution of this conference to the international standard is truly attributed to Sri Manoj Abraham IPS. He is the one who led the Cocoon team since 2008. I sincerely thank Sri Manoj Abraham IPS for his presence today and also all the guidance he given for the Cocoon 2020 conference. Next, His Royal Highness Michel de Yugoslavia, who is also the founder and the advisor for Digilens, a business intelligence firm headquartered in Switzerland. I would like to wholeheartedly extend my gratitude to His Royal Highness Prince Michel de Yugoslavia to accept our invitation and dignifying this Cocoon conference with his highly inspiring keynote speech. Now, I want to thank all our distinguished speakers across the world who have accepted our invite and attending this conference and sharing their expertise through the informative talks. I also want to express my deep appreciation to all the delegates and all the participants who are attending this two-day conference. I am sure that at the end of this two-day conference, you all will be benefited and equipped more to deal with the cybersecurity problems. Cocoon is a collective effort to deal with all the cybersecurity issues of the world. On behalf of organizing committee, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to all the sponsors and all the promoters and partners who are associated with Cocoon conference. I also like to thank all of you to have a great learning experience at Cocoon 2020, the International Cybersecurity and Hacking Conference. Enjoy the conference.